Welcome back to the discussion of spatial computing. This week we are wrapping up the discussions, and I wanted to leave with just two small notes. So the first, this MOOC is just a beginning of a journey into spatial computing. We touched upon about half a dozen topics which are of very, very broad interest, and they are quite significant in terms of having societal impact. But spatial computing has a lot more topics. If you are inclined mathematically, there are very nice mathematical theories. If you are inclined in application-oriented manner, there are many applications as well. So I did want to mention that in the Coursera MOOC world, there are other courses on spatial computing. Some from Penn State University, ESRI has been planning one, and as time goes by, I would believe there will be more proliferation. In addition, there are some very nice books. So let me at least show you a couple of those. We at least used the first two, the top two, Encyclopedia of GIS and Spatial Computing. You saw a couple of articles and chapters used. And those resources have a lot more. The encyclopedia has over 200 articles. And actually a second edition is being developed, which will have another 100 new articles. The spatial database book, as you know, has additional chapters on spatial indexing, on query processing, as well as the mathematical foundations. And this is written for a very broad audience. It's used in many courses. In addition, you see other courses. So here is a book by Professor Michael Goodchild, who you met in one of the interviews. And this is probably a very, very popular book on GIS in general and gives you a broader perspective. Here, another book, the bottom left, you see a book by Michael Vorbois, who gives you a computing perspective on GIS. So he gets into algorithms, HCI and other topics. And see another book on spatial databases, in fact, a new book on working with GPS trajectories and so on. Additional books, if you're really into data structures, I would refer you to the book by Professor Hanan Samet. It's a big book, but really an encyclopedia on data structures. You see a computational geometry book. If you're algorithmically inclined, there are whole semester-long courses, and this is a representative book. You can continue on to statistics, and there are books on spatial statistics. In some universities, these are taught within the Department of Statistics. In other universities, you may have to go to medical school, public health, other places to take these courses, and so on. Here you see epidemiology, GIS in health. Continuing on, you may be surprised even in business. In fact, the top book here is one of the co-authors is Paul Krugman, and some of you may recognize this name from New York Times, a Nobel laureate. And his work in economics had to do with spatial, essentially location of trade and international trade, the transportation costs and so on. And going across to, further in social sciences, in psychology, people study spatial cognition, how, most of us think about maps, how we represent maps in our mind. And coincidentally, this year's Nobel Prize actually went and it gave, it explored GPS in brains. They showed how rats can memorize maps and so on. Okay? So lots of different intellectual discipline. And the reason I'm bringing this out is the following. A lot of this development is new. It's mostly since 1980s that a lot of these major results have come and the interest has grown. Because in order to study these topics, people needed a lot more data and computation, or other sensor systems like GPS, and many of those were not available till 1980s or 1990s. Okay? So it's a growing field, and I hope you will continue your journey and you will explore some of these topics. And on the same front, I also want to mention that since it's such a new field, that many people, even though they are using GPS on their cell phone, okay, they are using Google Maps, but it's still many people feel there isn't much intellectual depth in this field because these topics are new and they haven't been taught around. So it's important for all of us to get involved in spreading the word. Fair amount of intellectual work has happened. Courses are coming around, books are coming around, and it's up to all of us to spread the word. So within our support, the stereotypes won't change. So I was hoping, one of the key purpose of this goal is to change people's attitude about spatial thinking in general. And you saw that many universities have started creating GIS centers. And again, if it is not happening in your university, you should, take the lead and try to make a case. Same way, evidence is emerging that spatial thinking actually predicts success in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And in some universities, all incoming engineering freshmen have to actually take a survey about their spatial skills. And they would again be surveyed at the end of 4 years to see that whether their spatial thinking skills made a big difference in their success. Right? So again, a lot of these things are happening, and it's important if you are part of university or education to at least think about those and make a case to the leadership. If you are in government, again, government has been a key sponsor of this kind of research. Right? GPS came out of Department of Defense. A lot of GIS work is sponsored by them. National Science Foundation, NASA. Nowadays, climate, environment, they have all sponsored it. However, often the support is fragmented. It's across many, many disciplines. It's not a single place. And it's important for this support to be continued and probably consolidated. So review panels maybe should be formed around spatial so that all the proposals are reviewed by people who have some expertise in the field. Okay. Similarly, in industry, once you go outside a few companies like ESRI or Oracle Spatial or maybe Google Maps, in many other companies, spatial still is a niche thing. You might find one person here, one person there. And when that happens, they are fragmented. They don't have a strong voice in the company and the leadership. And some companies you will actually see they took some initiative and they have stepped back. Right? So again, it's important if you're working in the industry is to institutionalize, try to consolidate spatial skills and expertise in a place and articulate its value to the company. Because as smartphones are proliferating, any business that's affected by smartphone would also be seeing spatial opportunities, whether it's connected cars in Detroit or it's something else. But it's important again to advocate. It should not be thought of as just yet another application of non-spatial thinking. That doesn't take you far, and I hope that was a key message in the course. So we enjoyed your presence in this course, on the discussion and on various activities, and we hope you will continue this journey well beyond this course. Thank you.